The station was old. It floated in the darkness of space like a forgotten toy. Rust covered its walls. The lights flickered every few minutes. Most people avoided this place. It was dirty. It was dangerous. It was perfect for hiding. Yuna pressed her small body against the cold metal wall. She was hungry. She had not eaten for 3 days. Her stomach made sounds, but she covered it with her thin hands. She could not make noise. Noise meant death. She was different from humans. Her skin was pale blue, like the morning sky on planets she had never visited. Her eyes were large and silver, like 2 moons trapped in her face. She had no hair. Instead, thin lines ran across her head, glowing softly in the dark. But the thing that made her different from everyone, even her own kind, was the mark. The black mark sat on her left arm. It looked like a burned handprint, but it was not a burn. She was born with it. Her people called it the sign of the damned. They said children with this mark would destroy everything. They said she was cursed. They said she would bring the end of worlds. Yuna did not feel like a destroyer of worlds. She felt like a scared girl who wanted food and a warm place to sleep. She heard footsteps. Heavy boots on metal floor. She held her breath. The footsteps came closer, closer. Then they stopped right outside her hiding spot. Yuna closed her eyes and waited for death. The metal panel in front of her opened. Light flooded in. She raised her hands to protect her face, ready for the pain that would follow. But no pain came. "Hey, there," a voice said. It was soft, gentle. "What are you doing in my cargo box?" Yuna slowly opened her eyes. A human stood before her. He was tall, with messy black hair and tired eyes. He wore a brown jacket that had seen better days. His face was rough, like he had not shaved for a week. But his eyes were kind. She had seen many eyes in her short life. Angry eyes, scared eyes, hateful eyes, but never kind eyes. The human looked at her for a long moment. His eyes moved to her arm, to the mark. She saw recognition in his face. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the marked ones. The news channels talked about them all the time. The Galactic Council had put a price on their heads. Anyone who found a marked one and reported them would become rich. Yuna prepared to run. But where could she go? She was weak from hunger. Her legs felt like water. The human did something strange. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small package. He opened it. Inside was a piece of bread and some dried meat. Simple food. Human food. He held it out to her. "You look hungry," he said. Yuna did not move. This had to be a trick. Humans were strange creatures. Her people said they were primitive, emotional, and unpredictable. But they never said humans were kind to the damned. "It is not poisoned," the human said. He tore off a piece of bread and ate it himself. "See? Safe." Still, Yuna did not move. The human sighed. He placed the food on the ground between them. Then he stepped back and sat down on a cargo crate. He did not try to grab her. He did not call for security. He just sat there. "My name is Dawn," he said. "I am a cargo pilot. This is my ship. Well, not really my ship. I still owe money on it. But it is mostly my ship." He smiled a little. "What is your name?" Yuna stared at him. Her people could sense the feelings of others. It was their gift. When she focused on Dohan, she felt no hatred, no greed, no fear. She only felt something warm and soft, like sunlight on skin. "Yuna," she whispered. Her voice was rough from not speaking for so long. "Yuna," Dohan repeated. "That is a nice name. Is it okay if I call you Yuna?" She nodded slowly. "Good. Now, Yuna, I am going to look away for a moment. When I look back, That food might or might not be gone. I will not judge either way. He turned his head and looked at the ceiling. He started to whistle a strange tune. Yuna moved fast. She grabbed the food and stuffed it into her mouth. The bread was dry and the meat was too salty, but it was the best thing she had ever tasted. Tears fell from her eyes as she ate. She could not stop them. When she finished, Dohan was still looking at the ceiling. "Are you done?" he asked. "Yes," she said quietly. He looked at her again. His eyes noticed the tears on her face. Something shifted in his expression. The kindness grew deeper. "How long have you been hiding here?" he asked. 5 days. 5 days without food? I had some water. There's a leak in Section 7. Dohan shook his head slowly. That is not a life for anyone, especially not for a kid. I am not a kid, Yuna said. I have seen 12 cycles. 12 cycles? In human years, that is about 11. You are definitely a kid. Yuna wanted to argue, but she was too tired. The food in her stomach made her sleepy. Her eyes started to close. Hey, stay awake, Dahom said. He stood up and walked toward her. Yuna tensed, but he only knelt down to her level. Do you have anywhere to go? Any family? Yuna shook her head. My family gave me to the authorities when I was 6. The authorities put me in a facility. I escaped 2 months ago. Dahon was quiet for a long time. Then he said a word that Yuna did not understand. It sounded like a curse word. What do I do with you? He muttered to himself. You could report me, Yuna said. The reward is 1 million credits. 1 million? Dohan let out a low whistle. That is a lot of money. Yes, you could fix your ship. Pay your debts. I could, he agreed. Yuna felt her heart grow cold. Of course, no one would pass up 1 million credits. She had been stupid to hope that, but then Dohan laughed. It was a strange sound. Not mean or cruel. Just tired. Kid, I have done a lot of things I'm not proud of. I have lied. I have cheated. I have run from my problems more times than I can count. But selling a child? No, that is not something I can do. Yuna stared at him. She searched his feelings again. Still no lie. Still no trick. Just that same warmth. Why? She asked Dot. Duhan scratched his head. I do not know. Maybe I'm stupid? My mother always said I made bad decisions. She was probably right. He stood up and offered his hand to her. Come on. My ship is small, but it has a bed. A real bed. And I have more food. Not much, but enough for 2. Yuna looked at his hand. It was large and rough, covered with scars from years of hard work. It was the hand of a stranger. A human. A species or people looked down on. She took it. His hand was warm. Duhan led her through the station's dark hallways. They walked past drunk aliens, broken machines, and flickering signs. No one looked at them twice. On a station like this, everyone minded their own business. They reached a docking bay where a small ship waited. It was ugly. Really ugly. The paint was peeling. One of the engines looked like it might fall off at any moment. The name Sparrow was written on the side in faded letters. This is your ship? Yuna asked. I know. She is not pretty, but she flies. Most of the time. They walked up the ramp and into the ship. The inside was messy but clean. There were clothes on the floor and empty food containers on the table, but no dirt or bugs. It smelled like oil and coffee. Duhan led her to a small room at the back. There was a bed with a thick blanket and a pillow. This is the guest room, he said. No one has used it in years. You can sleep here. Yuna touched the blanket. It was soft. She had not felt something soft in a very long time. Why are you helping me? She asked again. She needed to understand. Doan leaned against the doorframe. He crossed his arms and thought about the question. When I was young, I was alone too. I lived on the streets of a city on Earth. No family. No friends. No hope. Then one day, a stranger gave me food. Just like I gave you. That stranger did not have to help me. But she did. And because she did, I survived. I grew up. I became a pilot. I got this ship. He paused. I always told myself that if I ever met someone who needed help like I did, I would do the same thing. So here we are. Yuna felt something strange in her chest. It was warm and tight at the same time. She realized she was about to cry again. Thank you, she said. The words felt too small for what she felt. Do not thank me yet, Doan said with a small smile. My cooking is terrible. You might change your mind after dinner. That night, Yuna slept in a real bed for the first time in months. The blanket was warm. The pillow was soft. And for the first time since she could remember, she did not have nightmares in the pilot's seat. Dohan stared at the stars through his dirty window. He had just made his life very complicated. The Galactic Council would hunt them. Bounty hunters would come. His already difficult life was about to become impossible. But when he thought about the girl sleeping in his guest room, he did not regret his choice. Not even a little. 1,000,000 credits, he muttered to himself. Then he laughed quietly and shook his head. I really am stupid. He started the engines. The sparrow shook and groaned but came to life. Slowly, the ugly little ship left the station and flew into the endless dark of space. Behind them, on the station security feed, a red light began to blink. Someone had noticed the marked girl. Someone had seen which ship she boarded. And someone had already sent a message to the Galactic Council. The hunt was about to begin. But for now, in the small ship called Sparrow, a human and an alien girl flew through the stars together. One was running from his past. The other was running from her future. Neither knew what waited for them ahead, but they were no longer alone. And sometimes that was enough. 3 weeks passed since Doan found Yuna in his cargo hold. In those 3 weeks, everything changed. The Sparrow was still ugly. The engines still made strange sounds. The paint was still peeling. But it felt different now. It felt like a home. Yuna learned many things about humans during those weeks. She learned that they needed to eat 3 times a day, which seemed wasteful to her. She learned that they slept for 8 hours, which also seemed wasteful. She learned that they made strange sounds with their mouths called singing, and that Dahan was very bad at it. But the most important thing she learned was that humans had big hearts. Hearts that could care for strangers. Hearts that could love without reason. Duhan was not a perfect person. He cursed it when he burned his food. He forgot to clean his dishes. He talked to his ship like it was a person. But he never forgot to check on Yuna. He never forgot to ask if she was hungry. He never forgot to say goodnight. Yuna had never known kindness like this. Her own people feared her. The authorities wanted to kill her. The galaxy saw her as a monster. But Dohan saw her as just a girl. She started to follow him everywhere. When he fixed the engines, she sat nearby and watched. When he ate breakfast, she sat across from him at the small table. When he read books on his old tablet, she leaned against his arm and looked at the pictures. Dohan pretended to be annoyed sometimes. He would sigh loudly or roll his eyes. But Yuna could feel his emotions. She knew he was happy. She knew he liked having company. You are like a baby duck, he told her one morning. Following me everywhere. What is a duck? She asked. A bird from Earth. Very cute. Very annoying. Yuna did not know if being called a duck was good or bad. But Dohan smiled when he said it, so she decided it was good. They traveled from station to station, planet to planet. Dohan delivered cargo and picked up new jobs. Most of the work was legal. Some of it was not. But he always made sure Yuna stayed safe on the ship when things got dangerous. "Stay here," he would say. "Lock the door. Do not open it for anyone except me." "What if you do not come back?" she asked once. Dohan paused at the door. He turned around and looked at her with serious eyes. "I will always come back," he said. "I promise." And he always did. But the galaxy was not a kind place. News traveled fast. Whispers spread like fire. Someone on that first station had seen Yuna board the Sparrow. They had reported it to the Galactic Council. Now, everyone was looking for them. Dohan changed their route. He avoided busy stations and popular planets. He used back roads and hidden paths that only old pilots knew. But he could not hide forever. It happened at a refueling dock on the edge of the Vega system. The dock was small and quiet. Only 3 other ships were there. Dohan thought it was safe. He was wrong. Yuna felt them before she saw them. A cold feeling spread through her chest. Danger, fear, hate. The emotions were so strong that she gasped. "Dohan," she whispered. "Someone is coming." Dohan stopped putting fuel in the ship. He looked around slowly. At first, he saw nothing. Then the figures appeared. 6 aliens walked toward them from different directions. They wore armor and carried weapons. Their faces were covered, but Yuna recognized their species. Volcari. They were famous bounty hunters. Cold, efficient, and without mercy. Dohan stepped in front of Yuna. His hand moved to the small gun on his belt. But 6 against 1? The odds were impossible. "Kim Dohan?" one of the Volcari said. His voice was like ice. "You have something that belongs to the Galactic Council. Give us the marked one, and you can leave with your life." "She does not belong to anyone," Dohan said. His voice was calm, but Yuna could feel his fear. He was terrified. But he did not move. He did not run. Do not be foolish, human. 1 million credits is a lot of money. But it is not worth dying for. You are right. 1 million credits is not worth dying for. Dohan paused. But she is not 1 million credits. She is a child. And I am not giving her to anyone. The Volcari leader tilted his head. Humans are strange creatures. You would die for a child that is not even your species? Yes, the answer was simple. No hesitation. No doubt. Yuna felt tears forming in her eyes. No one had ever protected her like this. No one had ever been willing to die for her. The Volcari raised their weapons. Dohan pushed Yuna behind him. This was the end. They both knew it. Then Dohan spoke again. "I claim the right of guardianship." The Valkyries stopped. Their weapons lowered slightly. Even with their faces covered, Yuna could sense their confusion. "What did you say?" The leader asked. "The right of guardianship. It is an old human law. Very old. From before we joined the Galactic Council. When humans signed the treaty to become part of the galactic community, this law was included. Look it up if you do not believe me." The leader was silent for a moment. Then he pressed something on his arm device. Words and images appeared in the air. He read quickly. "Article 7, Section 3 of the Human Integration Treaty," Dohan continued. "Any human may claim guardianship of any being, regardless of species, age, or status. Once guardianship is claimed, no other species or government may interfere with the guardian or their ward. The guardian becomes fully responsible for the ward's actions and well-being." The Volcari leader read the article on his device. His body language changed. He was angry. "This law is 200 years old," he said. "No one uses it anymore, but it still exists. It was never removed from the treaty. That means it is still valid. The Galactic Council will not accept this. The Galactic Council signed the treaty. They have to accept it. If they break the treaty, every human in the galaxy has the right to leave the galactic community. All trade agreements end. All military alliances end. The Council cannot afford that. The Valkyrie stood in silence. They looked at each other. They communicated in ways Yuna could not understand. Finally, the leader spoke again. You are clever, human. But this is not over. The Council will find a way around your old law. They always do. Maybe, Doan said. But not today. The Valkyrie turned and walked away. One by one, they disappeared into the shadows of the dock. The danger passed. Doan let out a long breath. His legs were shaking. His hands were shaking. He had been seconds away from death. Yuna grabbed his jacket from behind. She pressed her face against his back. Thank you, she said. The words came out broken, mixed with tears. Dohan turned around and knelt down. He put his hands on her shoulders. Hey, it is okay. We are safe now. They will come back. More will come. Because of me, probably. You should have given me to them. Your life was in danger. Doan shook his head slowly. Do you know what my mother told me before she died? Yuna shook her head. She said that life is not about how long you live. It is about how you live. She said that if you find something worth protecting, you protect it. No matter what. No matter the cost. He smiled softly. I spent most of my life running. Running from problems. Running from responsibility. Running from myself. But when I found you in that cargo hold, something changed. I did not want to run anymore. Why? Yuna asked. I am nothing. I am damned. You are not damned. You are just a kid who got a bad deal. The universe can be cruel sometimes. But that does not mean we have to be cruel too. He wiped the tears from her face. From now on, I am your guardian. Officially. Legally. The whole galaxy knows it. You are my responsibility. What does that mean? It means I will take care of you. Feed you. Protect you. Teach you things. Annoy you with my bad jokes. That is what guardians do. Yuna felt something new. A feeling she had never experienced before. It took her a moment to recognize it. Safety. She felt safe. Dawn, she said quietly. Yes? Can I call you something else? Like what? Yuna hesitated. The word felt strange on her tongue. Foreign, but also right. Can I call you Appa? Dohan's eyes widened. Appa. Father. In the human language of his ancestors, it meant father. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then his eyes became wet. He blinked rapidly and looked away. Yeah, he said. His voice was thick. Yeah, you can call me that. Yuna smiled. It was the first real smile she had made in years. They finished refueling the ship and left the dock. Behind them, the Valkyrie were already sending reports to the Galactic Council. The news spread quickly. A human had claimed the right of guardianship over a marked one. It had not happened in over a century. The council was furious. They called emergency meetings. They searched for ways to break the old law. They offered more money. 2 million credits. Then 5 million. Then 10, but none of it mattered. The law was clear. Dohan was Yuna's guardian. Anyone who tried to take her from him would be breaking the treaty. On the ship, Yuna sat in the co-pilot's seat. She had never sat there before. It was always Dohan's space. But he had invited her. If you are going to be my daughter, you need to learn how to fly, he said. I am not really your daughter. Says who? Says biology. Dohan laughed. Biology does not decide family. Choice does. I chose you. You chose me. That makes us family. Yuna thought about this. Her own biological family had given her away. They had looked at her mark and seen a monster. But Doan looked at her mark and saw nothing. He did not care about prophecies or curses. He only cared about her. "Okay," she said finally. "Teach me to fly." Doan grinned. "First lesson. This is the control stick. You use it to steer, but do not touch it yet. You will probably crash us into an asteroid." "I will not crash us into an asteroid." Echo Station was exactly what its name suggested. Empty, silent, forgotten dot. It floated in the space between systems, far from any star or planet. No light reached this place. No trade routes passed through. It was a ghost, a relic from an age when the galaxy was younger. Doan and Yuna had been here for 2 weeks. The station was old, but functional. Power still ran through its veins. Air still flowed through its halls. It was cold and dark, but it was safe. For now, Yuna spent her days exploring the abandoned corridors. Echo Station had once been a research center. Scientists from dozens of species had worked here, studying the mysteries of the universe. Their labs were still filled with equipment. Their libraries still held millions of files. It was in one of these libraries that Yuna found it. She was looking for something to read. She had finished all the books on the Sparrow and was bored. The station's library was vast, with information on almost every topic imaginable. She typed random searches into the old computer, history, science, music. Then, on a whim, she typed her own condition, the marked ones. The computer hummed. Thousands of files appeared on the screen. Research papers, news articles, government documents. Most of it she had seen before. The same lies, the same fear, the same hatred. But then something caught her eye. A file buried deep in the archives. It was very old, from before the Galactic Council even existed. The title made her heart stop. The True Purpose of the Marked, a Lost History. Yuna opened the file. Her hands were shaking. What she read changed everything. The document was written by a scientist named Dr. Yoongi from Yuna's own planet. He had studied the marked ones for over 40 years. His findings were shocking. According to his research, the marked ones were not destroyers. They were the opposite. They were saviors. Yun read faster. Her eyes moved across the ancient text, hungry for truth. Long ago, the universe faced a terrible threat. Rifts in space and time opened randomly, releasing energy that destroyed everything it touched. Stars died. Planets vanished. Entire species went extinct. Nothing could stop these rifts. Then the first marked ones appeared. They were born with a unique ability. They could absorb destructive energy. When a rift opened, a marked one could step inside and contain its power within themselves. They became vessels, holding the chaos inside so it could not hurt anyone else. But there was a cost. Every time they absorbed energy, part of them was consumed too. Their bodies weakened. Their minds suffered. And eventually, after saving countless lives, they died. The marked ones were not cursed. They were blessed with the power to protect. But over time, the truth was lost. People forgot why the marked ones existed. They only remembered that they were connected to destruction. Fear replaced gratitude. Hatred replaced respect. The prophecy that Yuna had heard her whole life was a mistranslation. It did not say that the marked ones would bring destruction. It said they would face destruction. They would stand against it so others could live. Her people had condemned their heroes. They had killed their protectors. They had turned salvation into sin. Yuna sat in the dark library for a long time. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Not tears of sadness. Tears of relief. She was not a monster. She had never been a monster. She ran to find Dawn. He was in the station's old control room, trying to repair some equipment. When he saw her face, he dropped his tools immediately. What happened? Are you hurt? Appa, I found something. You need to see this. She led him to the library. She showed him the file. He read it slowly, his eyes growing wider with each line. This changes everything, he said finally. It explains the mark. It explains why I am the way I am. Yuna looked at her arm. The black handprints seemed different now. Not a curse, but a gift. My ancestors sacrificed themselves to save others. They were heroes. Doan put his hand on her shoulder. So are you, but I have not saved anyone. You saved me. His voice was soft. Before I found you, I was lost. I had no purpose, no direction, just surviving day by day. You gave me something to care about, something to fight for. You saved me, Yuna. She hugged him. She did not have words for what she felt. They spent the next few days studying the files more. There was so much information. Details about how the power worked. Records of past marked ones and their sacrifices. Maps showing where rifts had opened throughout. History. And then they found the warning. It was hidden in the oldest documents. A prediction made by ancient scientists thousands of years ago. The rifts were not random. They followed patterns. And according to the calculations, a massive rift was about to open. Not a small one like in the past. This one would be bigger than anything in recorded history, big enough to destroy an entire star system. The predicted location was the Nexus system, one of the most populated areas in the galaxy. Billions of people lived there. If the rift opened and no one stopped it, they would all die. The file was dated 300 years ago. The scientists had tried to warn the Galactic Council. They had begged for preparation, but the Council had refused to believe. They had called the scientists crazy. They had buried the research and forgotten about it. And the predicted date of the rift? It was 1 week from now. We have to warn someone, Yuna said. Doan's face was grim. Who would believe us? The galaxy thinks you are a monster. If we show up with warnings about an ancient rift, they will think we are lying. But we have proof. The documents, the research. Documents can be faked. They will say we made it all up. Yuna knew he was right. The galaxy had been taught to hate the marked ones for thousands of years. One human and one girl would not change that in a week, but she could not do nothing. Billions of lives were at stake. I have to go there, she said quietly. Doan froze. What? If the rift opens, someone needs to contain it. That is what the marked ones are for. That is my purpose. No. His voice was firm, hard. Absolutely not. Appa, you read the files. Only a marked one can absorb the energy. If I do not go, everyone in that system will die. And if you do go, you might die. Yuna looked at him. Her eyes were calm, clear. There was no fear in them. I know. Dahan grabbed her shoulders. His hands were shaking. I did not save you so you could throw your life away. I did not become your father so I could watch you die. You did not save me so I could hide while innocent people suffer. You taught me better than that. Her words hit him like a punch. Because she was right. He had taught her. Every story about human heroes. Every lesson about protecting others. Every time he said hope was important. She had listened. She had learned. And now she was becoming what he always hoped she would be. Brave. Selfless. Human. In all the ways that mattered. But he could not let her go alone. Then, I am coming with you, he said. Appa, no. This is my fight. No, this is our fight. We are family. We do things together. You said it yourself. Yuna wanted to argue. She wanted to protect him. but she saw the look in his eyes, the same determination she felt in herself. He would not change his mind. "You might die too," she said. "Then we die together." It was a terrible plan. Fly into the most populated system in the galaxy while being hunted by everyone. Somehow convince people that a disaster was coming, and then face a force that had killed countless heroes before them. But it was the only plan they had. They prepared the Sparrow for the journey. They gathered supplies. They studied the old research until they knew it by heart. On the last night before they left, they sat in the cockpit together. The stars outside were cold and distant. "Appa," Una said. "Yes?" "Thank you for everything." Dohan looked at her. She had grown so much in the past months. She was no longer the scared child he found in his cargo hold. She was strong now, confident, ready to face the universe. He was so proud of her, and so afraid for her. "When this is over," he said, "I'm going to take you to Earth. We will see the oceans and the mountains. We will eat real food, not that canned garbage. We will find a place where no one knows us, and we will live in peace." That sounds nice. It does it not? So we have to survive. Both of us. Deal? Una smiled. Deal. They shook hands. A promise between father and daughter. A hope for a future they might never see. The next morning, they started the engines. The old station grew smaller behind them as they flew toward the stars. Ahead was danger. Ahead was death. Ahead was the entire galaxy wanting them destroyed. But also, ahead was a chance. A chance to prove the truth. A chance to save billions. A chance to show the universe what the marked ones really were. Una looked at her arm. The black mark was glowing now, brighter than ever before. It seemed to know what was coming. It seemed to be ready. "I am not afraid," she said. Dohan reached over and held her hand. "I am afraid enough for both of us." She laughed. It was a small sound, but real. The Sparrow flew on through the darkness, toward the Nexus system, toward destiny, toward whatever waited for them at the end of everything. They did not know if they would win. They did not know if they would survive. But they knew one thing for certain. They would face it together. And sometimes, that was all that mattered. The countdown had begun. 1 week until the rift opened. 1 week until billions of lives hung in the balance. 1 week until one small girl and one stubborn human stood against the end of the world. The universe was watching, even if it did not know it yet. That is exactly what someone who is about to crash into an asteroid would say. Una rolled her eyes, but she was smiling. The Sparrow flew through space. Ugly and 2 months had passed since Dohan claimed guardianship over Una. 2 months of running. 2 months of hiding. 2 months of growing closer. The Sparrow had become their universe. Its small rooms held all their memories. The kitchen where Dohan burned breakfast every morning. The common area where they played card games at night. The cockpit where Una was learning to fly. Every corner had a story, but the universe outside was growing darker. The Galactic Council had raised the bounty to 20 million credits. 20 million. It was more money than most people would see in 10 lifetimes. Every bounty hunter in the galaxy was searching for them. Every station had their faces on wanted posters. Every news channel talked about the human who protected the damned. Some called Dohan a fool. Others called him a criminal. But a very few, called him a hero. Una saw the news sometimes. She saw the angry politicians demanding her death. She saw the scientists explaining why marked ones were dangerous. She saw the religious leaders calling her an abomination. It hurt. Even with Dohan's protection, the hatred hurt. "Do not watch that garbage," Dohan said one morning. He turned off the screen and sat down across from her. "They do not know you. They do not know anything. They say I will destroy worlds, Una said quietly. They say it is my destiny. Destiny is not real. You make your own future. No mark on your arm can decide who you are. Una wanted to believe him. But sometimes, late at night, she stared at the black mark on her arm and wondered, what if they were right? What if she was dangerous? What if she heard Dohon one day? These thoughts kept her awake. They followed her like shadows, but then morning would come. Dohan would burn breakfast again. He would curse at the stove. He would make terrible jokes. And Una would forget her fears, at least for a little while. Today was a special day. They had found a small planet on the edge of the known systems. It was called Haven. It was not on most maps. Only smugglers and outcasts knew about it. Haven had no government. No laws, no bounty hunters. It was a place where people went to disappear. We can stay here for a few weeks, Dohan said as they landed. Rest, resupply, maybe eat some food that is not from a can. Una looked out the window. The planet was beautiful. Green forests covered the land. Blue rivers cut through the valleys. The sky was orange and pink, like a permanent sunset. It is pretty, she said. Yeah, it is. Dohan smiled. Come on, let us explore. They walked through a small town near the landing area. The people here were strange. Different species mixed together without problems. Aliens who hated each other in other parts of the galaxy walked side by side here. It was peaceful in a messy way. Dohan bought food at a market. Real food. Fresh vegetables and fruits that Una had never seen before. He also bought her a small toy, a wooden bird painted in bright colors. What is this? She asked. A gift. Humans give gifts to people they care about. Una held the bird carefully. It was simple, cheap, but to her, it was treasure. Thank you, Appa. Dohan ruffled her head. You are welcome, kid. That night, they ate dinner outside the ship. They sat on the grass and watched the stars appear one by one. Dohan told stories about Earth, about oceans and mountains and cities that touched the clouds. I want to see Earth someday, Una said. Maybe we will go. When things calm down. Will things ever calm down? Dohan was quiet for a moment. I do not know. But we have to hope. Hope is all we have sometimes. Una leaned against him. His arm was warm. His presence was comforting. Appa, why do humans hope so much? What do you mean? My people, we see the future in patterns. We calculate possibilities. We know when something is impossible. But humans do not seem to understand impossible. You keep trying even when you should not. Dawn laughed softly. You are right. We are stubborn like that. Maybe it is because we are young. Humans have not been exploring space for very long compared to other species. We have not learned to give up yet. Is that good or bad? Both, probably. Sometimes our hope leads us to disaster. But sometimes it leads us to miracles. Una thought about this. Her people would call humans foolish, naive, dangerous. But sitting here under the stars, she understood something. That foolish hope had saved her life. That naive belief had given her a family. That dangerous stubbornness had protected her from the entire galaxy. That maybe being foolish was not so bad. That the peace lasted 3 days. On the 4th morning, Una woke up with a terrible feeling. Cold spread through her chest. Her mark began to glow faintly. Danger was coming. Appa. She shouted. Dahan was already awake. He had heard something outside. He grabbed his gun and moved to the door. Stay behind me, he said. They stepped outside. The sun was just rising. The forest was quiet. Too quiet. Then ships appeared. 12 vessels dropped from the sky. They were sleek and black, designed for combat. They surrounded the Sparrow in seconds. Bounty hunters. From 12 different systems. They had finally found them. A voice boomed from the lead ship. Kim Doan, your luck has run out. Surrender the marked one, and we will let you live. Doan did not move. His gun was tiny compared to the weapons pointed at them. He had no chance, but he stood his ground. How did you find us? He asked. You should choose your friends more carefully. Someone in this town sold you out. 20 million credits makes everyone a spy. Yuna felt sick. They had thought Haven was safe. They had trusted the people here. Go inside the ship, Dohan whispered to her. Lock the door. If something happens to me, fly away. No, I will not leave you. Yuna, please. No. Her voice was firm. We are family. We stay together. Dawn looked at her. He wanted to argue. He wanted to force her to safety. But he saw something in her eyes. Determination. Courage. She was not the scared girl he found in the cargo hold anymore. He smiled sadly. Okay, together. The bounty hunters were getting impatient. Several of them stepped out of their ships. They carried weapons that could destroy buildings. Against two people, it was overkill. Last chance, human, the leader said. Give us the girl. No. Then you die together. The weapons powered up. Yuna closed her eyes and reached for Dahan's hand. This was the end. Then something unexpected happened. A new voice shouted from somewhere in the forest. Wait! An old woman walked out of the trees. She was human. Very old, with white hair and a bent back. She walked slowly, using a wooden cane. The bounty hunters turned to her. Leave, old woman. This does not concern you. Oh, but it does. She kept walking until she stood between the hunters and Doan. I am Hemin. I am the elder of this town. I have something to say. We do not care about your words. Move or die. Hemin smiled. It was a cold smile. Look around you. Doan looked. So did the bounty hunters. People were appearing everywhere. From houses. From the forest. From behind rocks and trees. Hundreds of them. Different species. Different ages. All holding weapons. Haven has no government, Hemin said. But it has rules. The first rule is that we protect our own. That girl is not one of your own. She is a marked one. She is a child. And for the past 3 days, she has been part of our community. She played with our children. She helped in our fields. She smiled at our people with genuine kindness. Hemin's voice hardened. We know what she is. We know about the prophecy. We do not care. We judge people by their actions, not their marks. The bounty hunter leader looked at the gathering crowd. He was calculating the odds. 12 ships against hundreds of armed people. He would probably win. But the cost would be too high. This is not over, he said finally. The council will hear about this. They will send warships. Let them come, Hemin said. We have been hiding from the galaxy for a long time. Perhaps it is time we reminded them why. The bounty hunters retreated to their ships. One by one, they lifted off and disappeared into the sky. Dohan let out a breath he did not know he was holding. His legs gave out, and he fell to his knees. Hemin walked over to him. Are you all right? Yes, thank you. I do not understand. Why did you help us? The old woman looked at Yuna. Because she reminds me of someone. Long ago, I was also hunted for something I could not control. Someone helped me. Now I help others. That is how the universe should work. Yuna stepped forward. Thank you, she said. I will not forget this. Hemin knelt down slowly. Her old bones cracked. She looked into Yuna's silver eyes. Child, you carry a heavy burden. The mark on your arm frightens people. But marks do not make monsters. Choices do. Remember that. Yuna nodded. She would remember. The town helped them repair their ship and filled it with supplies. Fresh food, clean water, medicine, more than they could use in months. "You cannot stay here," Hyman said as they prepared to leave. "The council will come. You need to keep moving. Where should we go?" Doan asked. "There is a place. An old station in the dark space between systems. No one goes there anymore. It is called Echo. You might be safe there for a while." Doan took the coordinates she gave him. He bowed deeply, a sign of respect. "Thank you. For everything. Thank me by keeping that girl safe. She is special. I can feel it." They boarded the Sparrow and lifted off. The town grew smaller below them. People waved from the ground. Yuna waved back until she could not see them anymore. "Appa," she said as they flew into space. "Yes? There are good people in the universe." Doan smiled. "Yes." The Nexus system was beautiful. 3 stars circled each other in an endless dance. 20 planets orbited these stars, and almost all of them held life. Cities rose from the ground like silver forests. Ships moved between worlds like schools of fish. Billions of beings lived here, worked here, loved here. None of them knew what was coming. Doan and Yuna arrived 2 days before the predicted opening of the rift. They had tried to send warnings. They had broadcast the ancient documents to every channel they could reach. They had begged people to evacuate. No one believed them. The Galactic Council called it a hoax. The news channels called it desperate propaganda. Even the people who hated the council refused to listen. Why would anyone trust a marked one? Why would anyone believe a wanted criminal? One journalist had asked, "Is this your plan to avoid justice? Create a fake disaster so people feel sorry for you?" Doan had wanted to scream. He'd wanted to grab them and shake them until they understood. But it would not help. Minds that were closed stayed closed. So they stopped trying to convince others. They focused on what they could control. The rift would open near the 3rd planet, called Aria. It was the most populated world in the system. Over 3 billion people called it home. If the rift was not contained, they would all die in minutes. Doan flew the Sparrow to the predicted coordinates. They were far from the planet but close enough to reach the rift when it opened. He kept the engines warm and the ship ready. This was the only thing they could do. Wait. The hours passed slowly. Yuna meditated, trying to prepare her mind for what was coming. Doan checked the ship's systems over and over. Neither of them slept. On the last night, they talked. "Tell me about Earth again," Yuna said. "What do you want to know?" "Everything. Tell me about the oceans." So Doan talked. He described the Pacific Ocean, so vast that you could sail for weeks and see nothing but water. He talked about waves crashing on rocky shores. He talked about creatures that lived in the deep, strange and beautiful and unknown. Yuna listened with her eyes closed. She tried to imagine it. The smell of salt, the sound of wind, the feeling of sand between her toes. "I want to see it," she whispered. "I want to put my feet in the ocean." "You will," Doan said. "I promise." But they both knew he might not be able to keep that promise. The next morning, Yuna's mark started to burn. "It is starting," she said. Doan looked out the window. At first, he saw nothing unusual, just stars and darkness and the distant glow of planets. Then he saw it. A crack appeared in space. Not a physical crack, but something worse. Reality itself was tearing apart. Through the crack, blinding light poured out. Energy that existed beyond normal physics. Energy that destroyed everything it touched. The rift was opening, and it was bigger than anything the ancient documents had described. Alarms blared across the Nexus system. Ships scrambled in confusion. Governments that had ignored the warnings now screamed in panic. 3 billion people on Aria looked up at the sky and saw death approaching. The rift grew larger. Energy waves shot out from it, vaporizing everything in their path. A moon near the opening simply disappeared. A fleet of ships that got too close was reduced to dust. "Yuna," Doan said. "Are you ready?" She stood up. Her mark was glowing so bright that it lit up the whole ship. Her silver eyes reflected the chaos outside. "I am ready." He flew the Sparrow toward the rift. Every warning system screamed at him to turn back. Every instinct told him this was suicide. But he did not stop. Other ships saw them approaching. Military vessels that had come to evacuate the system. At first, they tried to stop the Sparrow. They sent warnings. They threatened to shoot. Then they saw the marked girl standing at the front of the cockpit. They saw her walking toward the airlock. They saw her preparing to face the rift alone, and they stopped. They watched in silence as the ugly little ship flew. Toward the end of the world. Duhan landed the Sparrow as close to the rift as possible without being destroyed. The ship shook violently. Metal groaned under the stress. They had maybe 10 minutes before the Sparrow broke apart. "I am going out," Yuna said. "Wait," Doan grabbed her arm. "I told you we do this together. Appa, you cannot survive out there. Only I can absorb the energy. You will die. I do not care. I care. I need you to live. I need you to tell the galaxy what really happened here. I need you to clear the names of all the marked ones who came before me." She pulled his hand gently. "That is how you help me. Not by dying with me. By living after me." Doan felt tears running down his face. He had not cried in years, but now he could not stop. "I cannot lose you. You are my daughter, and you are my father. The best father I could have asked for." She hugged him tightly. "Thank you for finding me. Thank you for choosing me. Thank you for teaching me what it means to be human. You are not human. No, but you showed me that being human is not about species. It is about heart. And my heart is human now. You gave me that." She stepped back and walked toward the airlock. She put on a simple spacesuit. It would not protect her from the rift's energy, but it would let her breathe. At the door, she turned back one last time. "Appa, I love you. I love you too, Yuna. So much." She smiled. Then she opened the door and stepped into the void. The rift was enormous now. It filled half the sky. Energy waves crashed against each other like storms. The sound was beyond description. It was the sound of the universe screaming. Yuna floated toward it. She was so small, so fragile. A single girl against the end of everything. But she was not afraid. She thought about Dohan, about his terrible cooking and his worst jokes, about the way he sang off-key in the shower, about the wooden bird he had bought her, which was now tucked safely in her suit pocket. She thought about Haven and the people who had protected them, about old him and her wise words. She thought about all the marked ones who had come before her ancestors, her family, heroes who had been called monsters. "I understand now," she whispered. "This is what we were made for." She entered the rift. The energy hit her immediately. It was pain beyond pain. Every part of her being was being torn apart and rebuilt and torn apart again. She screamed, but no sound came out. But her mark was working. The black handprint on her arm was pulling the energy inside her, absorbing it, containing it. The rift began to shrink. Slowly at first, then faster. The energy that had been pouring into the universe was now flowing into Yuna. She became a vessel, a container, a dam holding back the flood. On ships across the system, people watched in disbelief. They saw a girl standing inside the end of the world. They saw her glowing brighter than any star. They saw her doing the impossible, saving them. On the Sparrow, Dohan watched through tears. He could feel the ship being pushed away from the rift by the energy Yuna was absorbing. He tried to get closer, but the force was too strong. "Come on," he whispered. "You can do this. I believe in you." The rift was half its original size now. Yuna was taking all of it into herself. Her body was barely visible anymore, hidden behind the light of her mark. But she was tiring. He could see it. The energy was too much. Even for her, he made a decision. He turned the ship around and flew straight at the rift. The Sparrow's warning screamed louder than ever. Systems started to fail. Metal started to melt. He did not care. "You are not doing this alone," he said. He reached the rift's edge. The energy hit the ship and started to tear it apart. But Dolan kept flying. He pushed through the chaos until he could see why she was struggling. The energy was overwhelming her. She was about to fail. Dohan did not understand the science. He did not have her powers. But he understood something else. He understood hope. He understood stubbornness. He understood that humans had always achieved the impossible by refusing to give up. He reached out his hand through the broken window of his ship. "Take my hand." Yuna saw him. Her eyes widened. "Appa, no." "You will die." "Maybe, but I am not leaving you." She hesitated. Then she grabbed his hand. Something happened. Something impossible. When their hands touched, Doan felt energy flowing through him. Not the destructive energy of the rift, but something else. Warmth, love, hope, human emotions, given physical form. These emotions flowed into Yuna. They strengthened her, supported her, anchored her to life when she was about to slip away. The mark on her arm glowed even brighter. But it did not hurt anymore. The energy she was absorbing was being filtered through Dohan's hope, transformed, made manageable. They stood together in the heart of destruction. A human and an alien. A father and a daughter. Two hands holding tight against the end of the world. And the rift closed. The energy stopped. The chaos ended. The screaming universe fell silent. They floated in empty space. The rift was gone. Not sealed. Not contained. Gone. Completely absorbed by Yuna and transformed by Dohan's stubborn human heart. They were alive. The Sparrow was destroyed. Nothing but scattered pieces drifting in the void. But they were alive. Rescue ships reached them within minutes. Medical teams pulled them aboard. Yuna was unconscious but breathing. Dohan was badly injured, but awake. The first thing he said was, "Is she okay? Is my daughter okay?" The doctors checked. They ran tests. And then they delivered news that no one expected. Yuna was fine. More than fine. The mark on her arm had faded. It was no longer black, but silver, like her eyes. The prophecy was fulfilled. She had absorbed an extinction-level event and survived.